Hold on a minute. We're going live.
Okay.
There we are.
All right, it's 7:34. We'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Tony.
Appreciate you taking the time and energy of being in the 22nd century of life here. We got a relatively short agenda, so we'll roll. First up is approval of minutes for March 3rd. I don't think he's distributed them. Any questions? If not, I look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
All right, I'm sorry, who did the motion?
I
Me.
made a motion. And
No,
Dave.
Mr. Habishaw did.
Morning.
The Jerry, and then who's second?
You did.
You.
Thanks you.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll have to just do that a little slower and clearer so Peggy can grab the vote going forward, please. All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Next up is we've got a number of bid awards. Mr. Gottberg, it's your stage.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Steve.
Morning,
Good
Steve.
morning.
The first bid package we have is probably the most problematic. It's the roofing, re-roofing project at Lippitt and Robertson. When the bids were open, we had seven bidders. The bids ranged from $992,097 to $2,583,000. As you can tell, that's quite a differential. So the bids came in, and this is a combined package, both schools. Commercial was second at $1,771,000. Alberg was third at $1,851,000. Greenwood Industries was fourth at $1,862,000. Marin was fifth at $2,053,900. And JJ Cardosi was sixth at $2,147,000. And Titan Roofing was $2,583,000. Because R&H in at the low bidder at $992,097, I had some major concerns as it was almost half of the second bidder. So I did a telephone scope review with them. They said, yeah, they had everything in it. We went through the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing section of it. They still said they were okay. So I sent them an email confirming that phone conversation, and they came back with an email basically stating that they had made some errors and they were not comfortable with the bid. And so what I'm looking to do is looking for direction on where we want to go with this. Do we want to split? We are able to split the two schools and go with the two lowest bidders if we want to reject that low bid. Or Mr. Ferrucci and I discussed briefly about potentially negotiating, but I'm looking for direction where to go with this.
How far off were they, Steve?
What was the differential?
Yes.
All right, I have a calculator, 1 second. $778,903 between the two bids.
It's huge.
That was a differential. We were, you know, our budget was $1,692,603 for the two schools combined. So, I mean, it's $700,506 differential between budget and their bid.
Steve, do you have the individual numbers in front of you too?
For the two schools?
Yeah, for each school?
Yeah, I thought I did, but I did not grab the folder. If you give me 1 second, I will go grab the folder out of my office.
Does somebody have a radio on or something? I can hear some background noise. It's kind of distorting a little bit. All right, one now.
Apologize for that. Okay, so the individual bids for R&H were Robertson, they were at 394, 435. And Lippert, they were 544, 662. The next bidder was Alberg. Lippert, they were in at 956,000. And at Robertson, they were 652,000. The next one was Greenwood Industries. They were at Lippert, they were 908,000. And at Robertson, they were 646,000.
So Steve,
Commercial roofing was at Lippert, 893,000. At Robertson, they were 756. Marin was 1,098,000 for Lippert, 697,000 for Robertson. And JJ Cardosi was 1,163,000 for Lippert and 807,000 for Robertson. And Titan was a 1,406,000 for Lippert and 887,000 for Robertson. So we could split these up and give the low bid, the second low bid on each one, and still be under the total budget.
What was the budget, Steve? How much would it be lower?
1,692,603.
Steve, excuse me, Steve.
Yep.
R&H,
Yes.
they miss our documents or a misinterpretation, or did we not provide something to them that everybody else got?
Nope, they got everything. I don't think they did their complete scope review and due diligence on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. The issue with these particular projects are HVAC on the roof, associated piping and electrical that needs to be, not only the HVAC units need to be removed, but the existing piping and electrical needs to be disconnected, removed, and then put back again so that the roof can go in place.
Within the bid documents, did we reserve the right to split the two projects so that the vendors know coming in? Or is this going to be a surprise?
Nope, they can be bid out separately.
What was the two low bidder prices then?
Other than R&H?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, Steve, I have it up on my screen, the one that Cam sent out,
Okay.
and it looks like Lippert, the next low bidder was commercial
That's what I have,
at 893.
correct?
And then the next low bidder on Robertson was Greenwood at 646.
46, correct?
Is that what you have?
That's what I have. Let me add those up.
They
That's
they
about
haven't
$1.5 million, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's still a little under budget, which is
This is
good.
still a little under, that's correct.
They haven't told us yet that their bid on Robertson is bad, but their number looks awfully low on that one too.
They weren't comfortable with the package at all, be it with that email.
On the entire package.
Yeah, I don't think they were comfortable at all.
Did they send anything else after that telling us where they made the mistake and what was missing?
No, they were doing, I talked to them late yesterday afternoon. I had asked them to pull some numbers together and see where they were wrong,
Yeah,
but they couldn't get it together before the meeting this morning.
okay.
They were working at it hard.
Is that normal for a vendor to make that kind of mistake?
No.
No,
Not that big of a mistake.
not that big of error.
I think we're gonna pass on those guys.
Yep,
What's that?
We have to pass on those guys.
I agree.
yep.
So is there a consensus to split the bid between the two lowest bidders?
I would agree with that, yes.
Yes.
To clarify that, we're gonna split between the, not including R&H, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So I need a motion to award the bid to Robinson for the vendor. Steve, what's the vendor's name, please?
That would be
Greenwood Industries.
Greenwood Industries, Inc.
Okay, and then need a motion within that motion, because it's a one bid, to offer the Lippert roof to
Commercial Roofing and Contracting, Inc.
second low bidder.
Correct.
I need that motion. Somebody move it.
I'll move it.
Second,
Moved in
Second.
second.
I'll second.
Any other conversation or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of splitting the bid as proposed, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, the next one is the Hoxie and Norwood Elementary re-roofing bid number 20-0019. Once again, R&H was low at 835,391. Next bidder was Eagle Cornice at 1,093,155. Third was Titan Roofing at 1,234,200. Commercial was 1,185,500 at fourth place. Fifth was Greenwood Industries at 1,384,500. And sixth was M. Barboza at 1,433,000 even. Did a scope review on this with R&H, and they were very comfortable with what they were doing here. The differential is a couple 100,000. However, I think they can handle this. I went round and round with them, and they believe they can do it.
Steve, have they worked,
Recommend moving forward.
have they worked for us before?
No, but both Mr. Guglielmo and I reached out to past owners of past projects, architects, and suppliers. All had positive reviews on them. They admitted they made the mistake on Lippert and Robertson and stood, manned up and let us know they did. And I recommend giving them a shot. I mean, it's substantial. Our budget on this is 1.5,645,000. It's a differential of 666,254 to the good.
What was the next lowest bidder?
What's that?
What was the next bidder?
Eagle Cornice at 1,093,155.
What was the difference between the two of them?
250,000 plus or minus a little bit.
Oh,
Is there a difference in the scope of this project versus the one they oopsed on?
Yeah, it's two different types of roofs. The existing roofs on this are tar and gravel, and we're going to the rubber EDPM. And there is no HVAC on these.
So that's what they missed, was the HVAC components.
That's correct. And the associated MEP work on it, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Well, you and Mr. Guglielmo did some investigating on them. So, I mean, I'm not inclined to distrust them on this one.
But the other thing was, I don't think their manpower could have handled both projects, all four projects. I'm much more comfortable looking at their manpower and the time, even if we do just, we fit into the summer block as opposed to, if they cancel school or not, I still am confident they can handle this project time-wise, schedule-wise.
But Steve, let me ask you this, and maybe this is a question for Dr. Thornton, I'm not sure. If school ends up getting canceled for the rest of the year, could these projects start earlier?
I don't think we know the answer as far as when that's gonna happen, so it's hard to queue up the vendors. We don't have the answer. The governor's going like, dribs and drabs here.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I don't think we have the answer in time to give them notice to ramp up. Steve?
What I've told the all contractors and all these bids was we're planning on going with the schedule that's in the bid documents. If the governor cancels schools, we will look and assess whether we can move ahead with these projects in May or early June, whatever it is. But for now, we have to assume that school will come back and these will be summer projects.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing, Steve, to remind the bidders, if we did this, when you're having conversations, is cash flow. This is in the second release. No matter what we do for application, we're not gonna get funds until July or August. They may not want to carry 90 days or 120 days. So just
That's true.
be conscious of that.
That is true. One of the things that it also is going on, these guys are all panicking. You're going to see the numbers are much lower than they were last year. What a difference a year makes. So, that's a discussion to have, and they may want to just go ahead because they've got nothing going forward, and they may borrow money and just move ahead.
Well, that, you kind of led into my next question. I was going to wait and ask until this was all done. With what's going on now with the whole virus and the economy essentially shut down, I mean, that should theoretically bode well for bids for future projects, right?
Well, what a difference a year makes. Once you look at how we struggled with roofs last year, last year at this time. And same thing with the ADA projects. And you'll see moving forward as we go through these bids, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I also think even if private jobs might just be stopped.
I think it's dried up. I really do.
Right.
Nobody
So
has cash flow. Buildings are closed. They're not going to restart. One of the contractors told me they lost 3 projects they had lined up for the summer, and now they're gone.
Yeah, so it's the public contracts that probably they'll ride through. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion as presented.
So moved.
second,
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. There you go, guys. Next.
Okay, next one up is C, ADA upgrades and abatement for Wyman Elementary. All right, at Wyman, we had 3 bidders. Our budget, let me get this right. Okay, our budget for Wyman was $563,400. Low bidder, Marin Construction, $502,500. That's $60,900 under budget. Next was JJ Cardosi at $529,000 even. Under budget, $34,400. Allborg would have been third, but they were disqualified because they left their pricing sheet, or somehow it didn't get uploaded to Bid Express, so they were disqualified. I reviewed with Marin. I did a scope review. They have everything. And one thing to note, this includes some abatement work. There's a lot of asbestos tile at Wyman. In our original budget, we had only carried half of the tile that had gotten missed that was there. With this, we included all the alternates and all the abatement were still under budget.
but they didn't work for us before, Steve?
Yeah, Marin, they didn't work for us the past year, but before that, they did a lot of fire code work. 2000, when did that start? 2011, Tony, 2013?
2010, 2011, yes.
Right, and they did a good job. Bob Carenti, who was the construction coordinator before, had said they did a good job.
I have a good experience from what I experienced during that time frame as well. I had no problems.
And he told me, he goes, this is the company that lost all their work. So they bid low on everything
And
Steve,
these are
aggressively.
guys too,
I'm sorry. Steve.
right, Steve? They're on the
the
pre-qualified
board,
list.
Wait a
on the-
minute. People are talking over each other.
On the Allborg issue.
Yes.
Were they lower than Marin?
No, they would have been high.
Okay, and they acknowledged that they acknowledge to us that they didn't get something in?
Right. I let Cam handle that because it was, part of that process. But she notified Glenn Allborg that they had not uploaded the pricing sheet. And because of that, they're disqualified. He didn't have a problem with it because he was third bidder.
Okay, just want to make sure that we had that on the record that he was notified and had a chance to address that issue.
So my recommendation is to move ahead with Marin. 60,900 is a good chunk of change in the budget.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up,
Next up is D, which is the ADA upgrade bid at Vets 20-0021. Once again, we had 3 bids. On this, our budget was $1,045,000. Marin was low bidder at $596,200. Berman was second at $710,500. And Allborg was third at $1,017,000.
Wow.
I reviewed scope with Marin again, and he was good with it. It's a substantial savings again. And I talked to him for half hour on this, and he said he had everything.
Steve, are you comfortable, Steve?
I am. They're a good company. They're a good medium-sized construction company, and I don't know anybody who's had a real issue with them. Steve, can you speak to that, Mr. Guglielmo?
Yeah, no, Marin's a good company, and they're also on the pre-qualified list.
These are all
pre-qualified.
these are all pre-qualified bidders on the ADA work. I forgot to mention that. I apologize.
And I think one factor is, as we discussed before with business drying up, every company has their own reality, right?
That's
So
correct.
some could be different than others to the point where it drives how they're going to bid. So, Allborg could, while still be impacted by this, may not be as significantly impacted as a Marin. So, again, every company has their own reality, and each project would mean something different to each company. So, as long as the reputation's good and we've experienced with them before, I don't see a problem, and you guys have dealt with them before, so.
My recommendation was to move them forward.
Let's move it forward then.
so I take you as making the motion. I need a second.
Second,
Who did second? Oh, Jerry? No.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? Seeing none, call the vote. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up,
Next victim is E, ADA upgrade bid, Holloman. This is for ADA upgrades at Holloman, some abatement work. It also includes abatement work at Sherman Elementary and Cedar Hill, the flooring that did not get picked up last year when we just did the ceiling work at Cedar Hill. And then this also includes the alternate one. So what we had at Holloman was a budget of 557,000 even. JJ Cardozi was low at 397,000. Second was Marin at 432,880,000, and third was Alborg at 499,000 even. I talked to Jay at JJ Cardosi, and he's comfortable with the bid. And he has everything scoped out, so he's okay. We had problem with JJ last year, and part of that was he got stuck behind AA abatement with their delay, and he also had a bad sub, which he forced the sub to eventually do a good job, but he recognized that fact and said that I don't think he'd be using them again. So I am recommending moving forward. We have a savings on that of 160,000. I recommend moving them forward.
Any comments? If none, we'll seek a motion to support that.
So moved.
second,
Moved and seconded. No further comments. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And next up,
Okay, last on is F, asbestos abatement bids at Hoxie. Bid number 20-0023. Okay, budget of 258,795. What this includes is this is ceiling abatement at Hoxie. The majority of the school has asbestos containing ceiling tiles. So we're removing the ceiling tiles and putting new back. We're not going to touch the ceiling grid because going forward we may hopefully we're going to put in HVAC in the elementaries, and we'd have to rip this ceiling out anyway. So it makes sense just to put in a low grade ceiling tile, get the abatement done, and then when we can move forward with the HVAC project if and when we get the money for it. So a low bid is Marin at 186,350. Second is JJ Cardosi, 194,300, and Alborg 219,000 even. Low bid savings would be 72,445. And I reviewed the, what's that?
you saved a lot of money this week.
Yeah, it's all on me, right? You, like I said, a difference a year. I really recommend going ahead with Marin on this.
any comments? Seeing none, I'll call a motion.
Motion.
Second,
Motion and seconded. No further comments. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So, hey, Mr. Ferrucci, if, based on my quick math here, and Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Guglielmo, we're saving, quote unquote, about $1.5 million to the project estimates, which is pretty good. And you know, yeah, so, you know, whether that's good news to report to the city too, in our regular updates with them, just to show them that, you know, we are kind of responsible here and we do know what we're doing.
Sounds good. We'll make that comment when we go public. This is only a recommendation to the school committee. We will present these for final award Tuesday night. We'll make sure we get that out there, David.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, I
Yes.
put a note on the agenda about fire alarm bids.
Yes, I saw that.
So if you would just speak to that for a moment, please.
Sure. When we did the pre-bid walkthrough, was the first day that the schools were closed. So there was a ton of confusion as to where the pre-bid was going to be, if there was going to be a pre-bid. We had some bidders who assumed that because the schools were closed, that the pre-bid was off. So we had three companies show up, but there were several that did not. So we talked to everybody and decided that we'd put this off and allow everybody to come and take a look at it, which they have, and we delayed it so that questions could come forward, and we extended the bid date to April 13th.
And just the feedback on that, it was the rationale behind it, not only was it the C virus issue that popped up, but our timeline wasn't critical for the summer. So when we get
That's right.
the bidding, et cetera.
That's right, Tony. These are fall projects. No matter how, even if we, do end up closing schools, once again, the fire alarm work just interferes with school cleaning horribly, as we found out last summer. So this has worked very well at Robertson and Warwick Neck. They're finishing up those projects right now. They've worked second shift. And it's going very, very well. So I think that's the best way to go with these. So it really doesn't kill us to delay this bid at all.
So today's is just an advisory to you folks that we had to make that management decision because it didn't affect the construction timeline.
Any comments?
Thank you very much. Now it's time to pay bills. And we've got our consent agenda in front of us. We've broken it down by Secosta Associates and the General Treasurer's Office. We've listed all the invoices. For Secosta, it runs alphabetized A through W. They average $3,000 to $4,000, and the total is $71,974. If there's an invoice in there that a committee member wishes to discuss, they reference the alphabetized letter. We extract that, we'll bid on the whole piece, and then we'll talk about the individual piece extracted if that happens. Other than that, we'd be looking for a motion. So does anybody have any invoice they'd like to pull out of the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve for $71,974 for letters A through W.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any comments?
Who's
Seeing no-
second?
I'm
Bill?
Bill. Seeing no comments, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Next up, the Rhode Island General Treasurer, RIDOH filings. Again, X through C, DD for a total of $3,150. And I'm just gonna ask Steve quickly, what was the General Treasurer fee for?
These are, this is for Phil Ricchiuti's filing for asbestos removal with the DOH. For each project, there's a filing fee for asbestos removal. So this is part of it and the submission of his plans.
Okay. Any invoice want to be pulled? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Hugh seconded. Thank
Yes.
you. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Under new business, we just wanted to report to the committee that we did host a building walk between Pilgrim and Windman. And myself, Mr. Gothberg, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Habishaw, we had an opportunity to get around the building. So Steve, just quickly, just touch base what we did. And then if anybody's got any questions about the building, this will lead into our next conversation on agenda item 2. Steve?
What we did is we walked Pilgrim and Windman, and we looked at heating systems, the general conditions of the schools, and discussed what it would take what needed to be removed, and how the systems worked. I think pretty much that was it. Looked into asbestos. You've got a comment?
you don't want to hear my comment. I think we're on the right path. We gotta get something done with those things. I was surprised. I was actually really surprised at how bad stuff was over there.
Didn't look much different from when we were there, did it?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you for joining us there, Hugh. Thank you, Jerry, for hosting us at Pilgrim.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I went with the eye of trying to better understand our next conversation point. So I appreciate the time getting into the building. So thank you. More important for today is item number 2 on the new business. Right now, we have Pilgrim Heating System, HVAC system budgeted in the $40 million. We have been talking about Windman having an issue with its heating system that seems to be, even though it's newer than Pilgrim, seems to be more problematic. And what happened with one of the units going up on us recently, and we did a patch repair. So previously I'd said that we would talk about when and how we approach the subject of moving the 8 million from Pilgrim to Windman. And so what I think I would like is for the committee to let me know through our actions whether we support that idea, and that when should I go to the school committee with a recommendation to consider it. I think what I'm looking for from you folks is a validation if in fact Windman is a higher priority than Pilgrim based on our experience. If you agree to that, that's what I'll bring to the school committee. The legality of the voters voted on the 40 million with the HVAC at Pilgrim, and the methodology of how we deal with RIDE on moving one project to another, because they've approved the 40 million at Pilgrim. I can tell you, RIDE is open to the conversation as long as the community supports it. So it'll just be the legal question that we'll present to Andrew. But if it's our recommendation, it's a higher priority, that'll get the wheels spinning. So any comments or conversation?
Tony, when do we know when there's going to be potential that we're going to build a new high school? When will we have that information?
I know they pushed it off, but there's still a huge drive in it, and what's the word I'm looking for? Desire by the community to get it on the bond referendum for November. So right now, Frank's going to try and do virtual presentations, keep the ball rolling, which means we're shooting for a target date sometime in early May. The state legislature has to enable legislation by July, but we've been told, Bill had spoken with folks, that by early June, they need a decision from the community. So I'm saying that some direction needs to be pronounced by June 15th, or else it's gonna die. And so I think one of our questions today is Windman at such a high concern and a higher priority than Pilgrim that it doesn't matter what happens with the high school vote, we still want to make that move? That's one of my questions today. Or is it Pilgrim is higher than Windman, so we stay the course with Pilgrim, but we don't have anything for Windman in the 56 million. It's too late to introduce that concept. So that's kind of where I'm sitting, saying which one really is a higher priority, regardless of the high school question.
In terms of Windman, I can just tell you from what I know, it's very problematic. We have some rooms in the high 80s, despite our best efforts to moderate the temperature. It's pneumatics. It's a complete mess. I can't speak to Pilgrim if they're really hot or really cold rooms, Jerry, but yeah, Windman is just really, really bad at this point.
I think at Pilgrim, the rooms are pretty good. It's just some of the hallways are not, but the rooms, they're pretty good.
Mr. Ferrucci, I have a question. And it may sound silly, but who the hell knows? The projects we just approved were about $1.5 million under what we had projected, right? So is it conceivable that in light of what's the current economic situation, if we end up with, say, all these projects coming in and we're $8.5 million under, could we do the Pilgrim project? Could we do that if we didn't spend, if we spent $8.5 million less than what the original bond was passed for, and that money is left over, right? Isn't it conceivable that we could do that project?
I believe it's conceivable, but I've been promoting, and I think I've gotten your directions as well, that the money's going to stay in the school. And so we won't have that answer, David, until we get through like all the other projects at the schools. So right now we're going to hold it in there. We have had some last year where we went over and we're talking about, all right, we're going to steal from somebody else within that school. But in some instances, Steve, we've had an issue where stealing from what they had in the school wasn't enough. I think we're gonna have pluses and minuses, but to your point, yeah, if we get to the end of this rainbow and we got 8 million collectively and everybody's satisfied, then I think we'll probably have community support to suggest that, but it's way too early to make that call. I think going back to Jerry's comments, if the high school thing blows up in June, I think we're going to be starting the promotion that there's a rollback to, there's a minimum that has to happen at the high schools anyway. And so we're probably putting Pilgrim's heating system in, if nothing else, and toll gates fill in the blank, if nothing else. And maybe the football fields falls into that basket on the road too. So we may have a $50 or $60 million high school patch paint budget for 2 years from now. So the question I think that I'm faced with is, if women's more critical and Pilgrim can wait 2 years, because that would be the worst case scenario, you'll have a bond issue request on November 2022. And that's where you put the Pilgrim repair. Or it's going to be Winman. Which one can last 2 years conceivably? And that's what I think we need to vet. And if today's not the answer, then we need to do our research over the next month, and maybe we'll bring it up in a month from now. That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you folks today, because I think it's separate and apart from the high school issue completely.
I mean, I would refer to what Mr. Gothberg, Mr. Guglielmo think. I mean, they're more knowledgeable about this kind of stuff than I am. The anecdotal stuff I heard is that women, Pilgrim's old. Pilgrim's biggest problem is its age, as in more than its function. I think the women problem is its function. So, you know,
If I can speak here, remember, there's only 10 years difference between those two schools. The other thing that I see is that I see potential failure at a couple other locations within Winman, like we just had. So there's because of those potential failures, there's potential cost impact. So we could very easily have to spend another couple $100,000 over the next year or so to make those repairs and have some of the similar issues we just went through. And this is in addition to what Phil just spoke about, which was the control of the building. And that is the biggest impact to staff and students, is the fact that in one area we have a classroom or an office that's 55 degrees when it's really cold. And then in other areas it's 87 degrees. And the temperature ranges is all over, and that's because of the pneumatic controls, which just seem to be virtually impossible to repair at this point. Whereas Pilgrim, it seems to be maintaining okay. It does not have the HVAC equipment that Winman has. It's more unit ventilators, water flow through the building, in the heating pipes, and those seem to be okay for now. I think we get another 5 years or so out of that, as opposed to Winman, which I think we're looking at failure soon.
Didn't we replace a boiler too at Pilgrim? Didn't we just replace something at Pilgrim?
At Pilgrim there, I looked at it. It was early 90s, those boilers were replaced. So the boilers themselves are okay. It would be the remaining infrastructure, the piping, the unit ventilators, those types of things that would go. And they seem to be okay at this point. I say okay, they're not great, but they're okay. And we don't seem to have potential for imminent failure. That's a good thing, Jerry.
That's a good way of putting it.
Do you folks need a little more time to digest this and do any additional research? You want us to put this on the agenda for an action next month, or do you want to take an action today? What's your desires?
Looking for my recommendation?
I'm asking the committee's desire.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine with moving this thing.
I agree. We can move it.
seems like there's a consensus that we may want to continue making a decision today. So I'm looking for a motion. Somebody please make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we consider the bond phase one recommendation heating project from Pilgrim to Windman.
Second,
I got a motion in a second. Is there any comments or questions?
That's just for the heating system, right?
The HVAC system from Pilgrim, approximately $8 million being requested to be moved within the current 40 million from Pilgrim to Women Project, whatever that cost may be. It may be a little less.
Can I inject one thing here? The projection is 6 million and change for women, where we have close to 9 million at Pilgrim.
So that the details would be the actual final numbers, only to the tune of what's needed at Women, and we'll keep the balance at Pilgrim. And if the committee votes on this, then I would bring it to the school committee with legal research to take place about the legalities of what the bond referendum was.
That makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye and wave in the picture. So Peggy said aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Peg.
Okay.
Thank you very much, folks. That concludes our meeting today. Our future business date is May 5th. Our business meeting is May 5th, 2020. And I appreciate your time this morning and your contributions. Thank you so much. It's great work.
Thank you.
Like this.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Good day
Doug,
now.
if you're still there, I want to know how many Facebook likes we get. See if we're photogenic.
We were viewed by almost nobody.
Good.
But it works, right, Doug?
That's right. Have a good day, all.
All right, thanks, Doug.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.
So, you need a motion to adjourn, Tony, or are we done?
Oh, yes, motion to adjourn. Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, David.